This Monstera pinnatipartita has cold damage. It just spent winter out in my courtyard and it did not like the cold temperatures it was exposed to. So in today's video we're going to have a look at how bad the damage is, and then we're going to try and recover it. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is what cold damage looks like. You see that, well, first of all, you see that it dropped most of its bottom leaves. The bottom ones are going very much yellow, but you can also see these kind of brown spots, black spots, and so on. And that's because it was just a little bit too cold for this plant out in my courtyard. I have some other Monsteras out there still. I've got Monstera dubia, Monstera siltepecana out there. I have a few deliciosas in my greenhouse as well. And there's heaps of deliciosas out on the street all over Sydney. So I know that Monstera in itself is a genus that can usually handle Sydney's winter, but seems like this particular species did not do all too well. Also, what is not super obvious straight up is that this is the latest growth, and you might be able to see this black streak in the middle, and when I squeeze it, there's some sort of black juice coming out. Look at this over here, which means that the newest leaf that would normally come out of this leaf is rotting. Now, it is still cold out there, and it's probably gonna be cold out there for another month, and by cold I mean going down to single digits at nighttime. So I'm gonna keep it inside for the next month before I put it back outside to hopefully not cause further damage. I think if I would keep it out there for another month, it will probably be gonski completely. If I would have known that the plant is having such a hard time with the cold, I would have probably put it inside in the first place, but it is quite a, I mean, now that it dropped a lot of leaves, it's not that big anymore, but it was quite big and I couldn't really fit it. Pinnatipartita, finally growing really nice and pretty. I love these leaves that it's grown recently. They just look so cool. Another thing I really don't like about this plant at the moment is that where it is positioned outside, the light is actually coming from the back during sunset, and that's why these leaves are kind of trying to face backwards. I would much rather have them all face this way. That would make a much nicer plant. So I'm also using the opportunity while I recover it to kind of give it more consistent light exposure from the front to give it a nicer display. But first things first, I want to clean up this bit in there because I don't want the rot to get worse. It's going to be hard to do this while also showing you on camera, I reckon, but let's try. So I'm just getting in there. Okay. It's actually not the whole leaf is rotten. I can see the new leaf that would have been in there. It's not too late yet. It's not fully rotten, but it will be too late to actually get a nice leaf out of this, right? This will never be nice. So I'm just taking this leaf out because when it recovers, once it's happy again, and I hope that there's not too much damage to the roots and that it's just cosmetic damage, but I'd rather have it recover and grow a nice leaf first. This leaf will never be nice. It just gone through too much, so might as well abort this on behalf of the plant and ask it to focus on a new leaf so it can reshoot. Now, as a result of that, I also anticipated to revert a little bit, but that's also okay. Over the course of last season, it grew all of these beautiful leaves, these three, so I know that the summer season out there is giving it the good conditions and the good light to actually grow nice. Yeah, let's see. So, but yeah, and those grew within just half a season out there last year. So confident that if I give it a full season out there, it will actually grow into something really nice. Next step, hang on. I'm not enjoying all of this emptiness at the bottom over here. So I'm gonna cut it. There's actually two stems on here as well. I'm also not enjoying any of these leaves. You know what? I'm gonna cut a few more of these leaves. They piss me off. I do not appreciate looking at ugly stuff, especially if they're going all directions. Let's just cut off all the ugly bits and pretend it never happened. Now, there's two plants on here. The second plant is only made it to here. Actually, the exact same happens with this growth point. One moment, please. Leaf in here is also completely cactus. Yeah, look, this is the leaf that was in that patio. I don't want this sort of rot to spread. So this second shoot has not actually made it onto the extension, which is okay. I will cut in between the two poles. So my 180 centimeter poles are made out of two 90 centimeter poles. So I cut in between here now. So this will be my main plant. I'm not moving it off the moss pole for now. I want to keep it on there, not too much shock. But I'm now giving it time to kind of root a little bit. But what I really want to do down here is I want to chop in quite a few spots down here to get this part to reshoot in many spots, and then I end up having a really lush plant on here. That's the goal. Now chances are that some of these cuttings will die. They're not all making it, but the root system seems good. And I'll do the exact same with the other shoot. You can really see where the stem gets thicker. That's when I started putting it outside. When the stem was just, when I grew it inside, the stem was just kind of doing nothing. It was just growing and growing. It was growing up, but it wasn't growing bigger. I'm not going to do anything with the top over here. I'll keep this. Now I actually will cut a few more leaves. Reason for that is that I also just chopped off all of this bottom part. This bottom part is what has the root system. Look at these roots. Look at this here. There should be some roots in here, but it's pretty filthy, so you can't really see well. But look, I just look at these, and these look healthy. They're not soft at all, so they're healthy roots. I just cut all of this root system off. So this top part is going to have a harder time to survive because it doesn't have all of the roots. So I want to make sure that it also has less leaves to support. I might just chop this one too. Okay, I'll just chop this too because it's sticking out and it was ugly sauce. I feel like, I mean, these are the leaves I really want to keep because they're nice and large. So I feel like this way it also takes up less space. It doesn't spread so far. So I'm actually having an easier time finding a spot for it inside. I will put it there somewhere inside. It won't get as much light, but I suppose light at the moment is not my main concern. My main concern is that I'm giving it warmer temperatures, and I hope I didn't leave it out there for too long. But time will tell. I will check in with you once there are some updates, either positive or negative. I've got bad news. It got worse. So I took this in, I think 10 days ago, and I was like, oh, hopefully that will stop the plant from deteriorating because it was getting really sad out there. But I might have just left it a little too long. I think the damage has been done, and it's now just, now the leaves are just catching up on it. Like this leaf over here, for example, very yellow, right? So let's get rid of that because it just reminds me of my failures. Just kidding. You guys know by now I don't take things too seriously. Come on, might as well just let it drop as well. You know what that means when the plant is struggling. Let's double down. At this stage in my plant growing journey, I'm honestly so carefree. Of course I want this plant to survive, but I'm sure it will survive. The stem feels firm, and that's the important bit. Huh? And I cut it here. It's okay. This stem also still seems firm, which is also okay. I do this quite frequently where I chop in between a bunch of nodes and then just let it reshoot. Now, I used to be more diligent and I did it properly, and I actually chopped twice in between every node to kind of create a little gap between the stems so that the stems don't touch each other. Now I've noticed at some stage I just forgot doing that. I just need to remind myself again that I need to do that. But as a result of that, and I hope you can see this, probably not here for example, see how this is getting a little rotten over here because it's juicy, right? Where I cut it, there's some juices coming out, and that's keeping this moist. So I'm not really giving the cut a chance to dry out properly. And because I don't let it dry out properly, it's more likely to rot. Because yeah, it doesn't callus over. So I'm gonna get rid of anything rotten over here and cut these little gaps in between instead, in an attempt to not have the rot spread further. Yeah, like this. And this one doesn't make a difference because it does have quite decent internodal spacing, so I'm not like potentially injuring the node, right? These cuts are nowhere near the node, but I think this should give it a better time drying out, I hope. Now ideally I would have done that straight away, because once you've got a little rot, the rot can easily spread, so I also don't want to be too conservative and chop off rather a little more than a little too little to make sure I've gotten anything rotten. But I'll keep a good eye on this to make sure that, oh my god, I cut heaps. But I keep an eye on it to make sure it won't rot further, and if I do, then I haven't cut enough and I need to do it again, and that's when you slowly start getting critically close to the node that you wanted to preserve. Wow, I really chopped this up the other day, didn't I? Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, I think we can give up on the existing leaves. As much as I like them, they look so cute. I mean, they already look terrible. They can only get worse from here. I won't cut them just yet, just to give the plant a little bit more time to take some energy out of these and put it back into the stem so that it can then hopefully reshoot. It also aborted its main growth point, as I showed you last time. There's a little more rot in here now, so I'll kind of just get rid of that. There you go. There was a little more rot that was inside of the petiole. Disgusting. That's a problem with top cuttings. Once it aborts the new growth point, you're going to have rot inside the petiole of the existing leaf. Oh my god, there's a slug in here. Disgusting. I hate slugs. There were two little slugs hiding in there. Oh my god, I'm gonna vomit. We're all glad that I didn't touch that. If I would have touched that slug, that plant would have had an instant disqualification for life. When I was in kindergarten, this girl ate a slug in front of my face. And I'm still haunted by this experience. I don't know if you can see this. See, this is where the new growth point is slowly rotting away because it's in there. Fuck it. Sorry, I'm just gonna get rid of this leaf so I can get in there. Yeah, see how inside the petiole you can see the rot here, and it's just going to keep spreading and spreading. Yeah, it would be nice to preserve the leaf for a little while longer, but it's never going to get nicer. But I think at this stage I'm just mainly worried about the rot spreading to the stem, because I want to keep the stem, because the stem has roots and the stem can reshoot, and then I can have a new plant. So you can see this is where I just took that leaf off. This is the petiole of the newest leaf, and this is where normally the leaf would have come from, but it rotted. So over here you can see this would have been the petiole of the newest leaf then. And you can see that there is rot in the middle, in the center, where the leaf would have unfurled from. So that is what I want to not spread. So most likely it's not going to grow from here. I reckon it's going to activate a secondary growth point somewhere down here. But these nodes are pretty small, so it'll be okay, huh? I don't know. This looks so ugly now. Oh well, let's just hope that with this plant it's like a house renovation. It has to get worse before it can get better. I like that attitude, but Jan from the future is going to be smarter, and he's going to come up now. It has been 3 months since the last update, and absolutely nothing has happened so far. It has been on my wall of aeroids right behind you, so just out in the open for most of spring now, probably for a month and a half or so, and the plant didn't really do anything, so I figured, well, it is already mid-November by now, so we're very close to summer, and I still haven't even seen a single leaf or like even a sign or even signs of growth, that I needed to change something. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I moved it into the greenhouse 2 days ago. Now maybe I'm just seeing things, but I do think that this little blob over here has doubled in size since putting it in the greenhouse. So yeah, I don't really know. I wasn't too sure if I should take it off the moss pole. I don't necessarily want to take it off the moss pole and have like a ginormous wet stick. So for now, I'll just pop it in the greenhouse because it's amazing conditions in the greenhouse at the moment. It's always nice and humid. It's warmer in there. So yeah, hopefully that changes something. So I suppose we need to wait and find out. But yeah, just wanted to keep you in the loop. Pinnatipartita is now in the greenhouse because so far the recovery story is going terribly. Oh, hello! As you can see, we finally have leaves. Let me bring you a bit closer. So we've got a shoot coming out of the pot here. We've got two shoots here. This is its own little shoot. You can't really see it. This one down there. This one, we've got a teeny tiny shoot here. We've got a shoot here and one here. And then we've got the main shoot over here. And look how cute this tiny shoot coming out of this thick stem. But at least we're going places. And this is already showing fenestration, so that's good. Now the thing is, it's kind of like the end of January now. So really we have February, March, and usually April as well. So we've got like 3 more months of good conditions, and then we're already going back into winter. So let's hope this plant can really grow a little bit over the next 3 months, so that at least there's something worth putting inside over winter, right? I think I learned my lesson, and I'm not going to keep this outside this year. But if it looks like that, it's hard to dedicate a nice spot in my house for this. So I'll let it do its thing. At the very least, we'll definitely have a lush pole over here, right? Or like some sort of interest. Something's gonna happen. There's many plants. And I might also want to separate one out and give to Tim and put on in his garden to see if it's more successful in his garden. But we'll find out. I think at this stage I'm happy that it's finally starting to show some growth. So the greenhouse definitely did the trick over here. And I'll just stay patient and be grateful for now. Anyway, see you soon. Oh, hello. We are back. And we're back inside. So let me quickly show you what happened. Ooh, how long has it been? Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. This happened. My Monstera pinnatipartita. I've got a full video about her coming. Basically, in a nutshell, she was thriving until last winter when I kept her outside. She hated it and absolutely shed herself. So I've been trying to nurse her back to health. I'm gonna cut off these ugly bigger leaves. At least there's some decent root growth happening. But I need to do better than last year. I need to learn from last year's mistakes. Hence, I will put this plant inside. Yeah, this is where I put the pinnatipartita, by the way. Here next to the shelf. So good. So 2 or 3 weeks ago I started my winter preparation. As part of that, I took some of my plants from the garden indoors in an attempt to learn from last year's mistakes, right? So I'm still recovering from last year's mistake over here. I can't make the same mistake again, right? So this was one of the first plants that got to move back in. And as you saw, she's currently up in my attic. So up in the attic, like you can maybe even hear it. I've got the heater on down here. Our house has terrible insulation, so we pretty much need to run the heater all day. As soon as you turn off the heater, it is cold. Hot air rises, so that all goes up into the attic. So the attic is actually really warm and somewhat dryish at the moment. So I think the Monstera doesn't really mind it, but I actually need to water quite frequently, probably every 4 days or so up there, whereas in my garden and in the greenhouse, for example, I haven't done any watering in 3 weeks now, because it's raining a lot and it's humid and it's cold and the plants aren't growing as much and so on. So I'm creating more work for myself, letting it overwinter inside, but hopefully I'll get a reward out of it. Now in that video you also see a really chunky root. I have actually pushed that root under the mesh and it's now traveling along the pole over here. Wow, you can't see much. There you go, now you can see it. Sorry, the sun is really intense at the moment. How do I do this? Yeah, I think I need to be out of the sun completely. Sorry, we need to be here. But I can see lots and lots of growth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's currently 11 plants on here. It hasn't matured as well outside this year that it has last year, because I mean I went into this year really injured, or really struggling, but that's okay. For now I'm just happy that it's growing, it's climbing, it's alive. I mean even down here they're all still very juvenile, but that's okay. I'm actually enjoying that it's going to be a lush pole instead. I mean, out of all of these little stem cuttings that I took over here, some obviously are not making it. So this one, for example, dead. Oh, yucky. And it then also comes with a dead root. Oh, whatever started. Hang on, let's just cut it. Some are doing absolutely nothing, and some are still just giving me a little shoot. Some have already given me leaves, right? So basically the extension of the pole meets, where does the extension meet? Here. So apart from, yeah, actually there's only this one cutting. These shoots are still on the bottom part. It's really only the top part on that extension, right? So I think that's going to be the goal. In spring I'm going to pot this part up, so then this is the new plant in a new pot. And the bottom part I'll keep as it is, and I'm going to create a lush pole over there with multiple shoots and so on. So all I want for this plant over the course of this winter is to not repeat last year, so that we can go into spring happy and healthy, and then we have a good growing season out there, rather than spending the first 4 months of the growing season recovering from the shock in the first place. And look, if it wants to grow nicely up there, then I also have no issues with that. I'll take anything at this stage, but I'm not gonna, it's not the goal, right? Just a quick update for today. I think it's only another 2 months, maybe a little bit more, 2 months and 10 days technically, but who cares? Let's say 2 months, and we are at the 12-month mark for this video. So let's wait till then and let's assess what this plant looks like after 12 months of trying to recover it. So maybe I'll get one more leaf. Oh well, this is actually a little update where we're going backwards in progress. What a way to finish the 12-month video. Let me explain what happened. I'm sure by now you know I was in Bangkok. I think I talk about it in every video. But yeah, I was in Bangkok for 1 week and I had my housemate help me out with my plant care. But I basically just told her a few plants that I would like her to just spray over the duration of the 8 days that I was gone. It's just 8 days and we're in the middle of winter. What could go wrong, right? Well, I kind of forgot about my rescue section upstairs. I only asked her for a few of my little precious plants down here. I was like, don't worry about the upstairs, it's going to be just fine. But of course hot air rises, so it is much warmer and drier up there than it is down here. So by the time I came home, this plant, and I don't have a photo, sorry, I should have really taken a photo, but when I see a plant suffering, like my first thought is let's water it, not let's take a photo of it. So she was really droopy, like there was no structure to these leaves at all. They were all just hanging there. I rehydrated the plant, but not all leaves recovered. Let me insert that little clip over here where you can see kind of the damage that I saw on some of these leaves. Actually, I fully forgot that I have this pinnatipartita there that really needed watering, that was so dry. Especially the top cutting was so droopy. I'm actually surprised it bounced back at all, but it is now very, not so slowly, dropping a few leaves. So I actually fully forgot. I should have just asked my housemate to go up and just spray this one a little bit as well, but I forgot about her. What is this? Don't tell me you also have thrips. Sort of damage is that even? I've never seen it that bad. Well, suppose when I do the treatment, they'll all get the treatment. Alrighty, and here we are. Let me bring you a bit closer. So we still have that main cutting over here. It's good, you know, it's rooting back into the pole. It is giving me fenestration, so overall not bad, but I think the dehydration has definitely caused a few issues. I also think everything upstairs has thrips, so I think this also had thrips. But I mean, if you think about how thick the stem was that we came from and how skinny the stem is now, you know, there's a long way to go. It's more like this thickness of stem down here again. Then we've got the second shoot over here. Also it came from a relatively thick cutting and now is its own little plant yet again. Similar pattern over here, you know, where it does start growing fenestrations, but they're all a little bit manky as well. What are my neighbors doing? Now let's have a look at these down here. Another plant here. I still don't know what all of these markings are, but I'm thinking it might be in relation to the thrips that I found everywhere. See, like some of them just die. Like this one, just too much dehydration. Little one leaf here, a little plant here. Oop, I'm getting too tall, the ceiling can't handle it. Like a little plant here, but come on, it's been a year. A little plant here. I think the only one worth mentioning over here is I've got this one, which is a little plant. Oh my god, it doesn't work, it's too tall. I've got this one as a little plant. Again, you can really see, I believe, the thrips damage, so I might just rip this off because you're a bit ugly. Yeah. And then down here from within the pot, I've got a little reshoot as well, but still, you can't see anything with all of this light. And then a little reshoot over here. So, oh, and also a little reshoot over here. So volume is not the problem. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 larger plants, like real plants that have at least grown 2 leaves of decent sized, and then we've got like 5 or 6 of these teeny tiny leaves and so on. But at the end of the day, I think the way that it looked just before the cold damage started kicking in was perfectly fine. I don't think I need to have 6 plants on here to make it look good. I think once this plant grows mature leaves, even 1 plant would be sufficient. So yeah, I feel like it's been a year in recovery. I mean, the first half of that year was really the plant declining further, right? So when I started the recovery journey, the plant wasn't even done dying yet, you know. So the first half of the year was very, very unrewarding. The second half of the year was a little more rewarding because at least the plant was coming back to life. But it's not anywhere near what the plant looked like a year ago. And imagine over that 1 year, instead of it going through this spiral of decline, it would have continuously matured. This plant could be massive by now, right? So I think it's a good reminder when we're talking about time frame. I've grown this plant for a year now and it looks worse than it looked a year ago. But somebody else could grow this plant for another year and the plant could continuously thrive and it looks 5 times as good and 5 times as big, right? So time in itself is not the only deciding factor. Time in itself is not going to make your plant grow. You need to provide that plant with good conditions throughout that year and continuously care for that plant and not let it dry out and get on top of thrips and so on, right? So time is such an interesting concept in the plant community, and ultimately there is no distinct time frame, there is no schedule and so on. I don't enjoy this sort of journey that I have with my plants. I obviously enjoy the good times with my plants. I don't mind if they're declining a little bit over winter and then they bounce back in spring, but I want to be rewarded with a nice growth journey to make up for the bad times. this growth journey wasn't that nice and the bad times were really bad. If every plant's journey would kind of be like that, I probably wouldn't enjoy this hobby as much. Of course, I enjoy being good at things, but it definitely triggers the ambitious part in me. And I know that in year 2, we'll probably have more success. And that means that it will be extra rewarding in year 2, right? If that plant comes back to life and looks really good, it will be so much better than if it would have just always been nice, you know what I mean? So I am looking forward to that, but I need to be realistic. It's probably gonna take a long time. On the positive note though, I haven't really had to do anything with this plant. It's still in the same pot, it's still in the same pole. I just chopped it, and because it is not growing at all or growing super slowly, it's not that much work. So that's positive, but of course there's work in continuously watering this plant, for example. I, however, think that going into spring, we are in a much better position this year than we were last year. We actually see active growth. We see a healthy plant that has leaves that can photosynthesize. So as soon as it gets nice and warm outside, I'm gonna pop this back outside on my fence, and I reckon this year it will actually come back, because at least it already has shoots, you know what I mean? Last year when I put it there, it didn't even have a reshoot. It didn't even know where to redirect the growth hormones to just yet. So at least we've got that. So I think this year will be significantly better, but well, it took me a year to get in the position of looking forward to a significantly better year. And then I'm probably in a position to also chop the top off and continuously grow one bigger plant, and then maybe keep the bottom as like a lush pole with lots and lots of them, but not necessarily aim for maturity or something like that. See how we go. I think at this stage the plant isn't really growing enough for me to go ahead and do something with it. I think the plant needs to show a little bit of desire to live before I show desire to, you know, put more effort into this plant. I mean, that's all I have to say. You've seen it. There's no magic trick in getting a plant to come back to life, quite clearly. If there was, I would have applied that magic trick. I have many of these plants, to be honest. I have a Vicia, for example, that I've been trying to grow for 5 years now, and it's always going back between 3 leaves and stump. I have a Philodendron tenue, for example, that I've been growing for 3 years now, and recently grew 1 leaf. Which is the only one that it has, because it dropped all the other ones. I have a bunch of these plants that just never really eventuated for me, and as a result of them, I don't put much effort into them. I don't show you those much. They're not on my mind. They're literally, I forget I have them. This one is a little bit different because the plant at least showed me that it is possible to thrive. And it showed me that technically I do have conditions that can make it thrive, and I do have the technique and the skills to make it work. I just wasn't consistent enough in providing it good conditions, and I wasn't consistent enough in caring for it. So it is 100% my fault, not the plant. And that's a humbling experience. I don't beat myself up over it. I'll just try again. Shit happens, things go wrong, and that is as much part of this hobby as things going right as well. And I want to continuously share my mistakes or failures with you, so that you guys can see that this happens to everybody, irrespective of your level of expertise, irrespective of where you live, irrespective of how much time you devote to this hobby. Things will go wrong. It's completely unrealistic for everything to always go right. And we just got to accept that, make the best out of it, and hopefully learn something from it. So hopefully this was an enjoyable video for you guys to watch, because it's somewhat relatable. It certainly wasn't an enjoyable journey for me to film, unfortunately. In the comments down below, let me know, do you have one of those plants in your collection that's kind of your problem child, where as soon as something goes right, something happens yet again, where you're just constantly trying to make the plant work and it's just not enough for the plant to thrive, but it's also not fully dead yet, you know what I mean? The plant is too alive to completely give up, but it's not thriving enough to really enjoy the journey. Share it in the comments down below. Also make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, click the bell icon so you get a notification every time I upload, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video with a nicer plant to show you. Bye.